So, this Sunday's Gospel lesson is taken from the 11th chapter of John, and it is the story of Jesus' return to Bethany, possibly at the risk of his own life, to visit Mary and Martha in their grief, and eventually to resurrect Lazarus from the dead. This Gospel text appears in the lectionary at other times. So we have read it. We of course read it every time it comes up in this cycle, so during Lent, but we also read it not that long ago, about a year and a half ago, during All Saints Sunday. And I don't know if you'll remember, but on that All Saints Sunday I preached on this text, and I talked about how much I am always stuck on that verse. And it's best in the old King James. I always talk about it like this, that it's best this way. He stinketh. And I remember talking about that. And that Sunday when we gathered, we talked about the stuff that stinks, and we put it in this tomb. So I've had this tomb that says, God, this stuff stinks, for about a year and a half. And today I'm going to open it and talk to you a little bit about what some of the stuff that's in here says. These were things that people gathered in worship talked about stinking, and things that they felt like God's presence was needed in. This one says, for those who have lost loved ones. This one talks about a pretty severe illness, a form of cancer. This one talks about war, and especially talks about news in the Mideast. This one is a very particular request. I asked what stuff stinks, and there must be something that was going on in the life of somebody named Megan, because someone wrote her name here, that something was going on with her. There was someone with a broken hip, and that was here. Cancer was here. The name of a lost loved one. Some of the things going on in the world around us in the government. People not connected, people not communicating with their families or not doing very well. Someone wrote racism and prejudice. This card says something that stinks. The hatred and distrust people have of each other. Cancer again. The administration of the world we live in. Pain. This one talks about doing things, mean things to other people, and it says that this stinks. It stinks that spring break is ending, and I got a handful of those in here, that spring break was about to end. Someone, because somebody always has to make sure I have fun when I see these and pray through them, wrote that trash stinks, so they took this very literally. Thank you for that. So these are the things that a year and a half ago we put into this tune that were weighing on our minds, things that stink and things that we felt we needed God's help and call to bring us to new life in the midst of. So within us there is, at this point, with all the things that are stacking up on us and all the things that we're encountering that are different and that are places that we've never been before, a great battle, I think, going on for our hearts and for our minds and for what will consume our thoughts. A year and a half ago, we put things in the tomb, things that we say stink. And it's easy to remember that we always have these things with us. And we buried them and we handed them over to God because we wanted to set our worries before God. And the challenge for us is to put away that old self, not just a year and a half ago, but today too. And to try to put away the part of us that is consumed with stress or fear or worry. And to remember that in our baptism we have drowned to all of those things, and that God has done something to us. And this thing that God has done to us changes us from being that old worrisome self into a new faithful and hopeful self. Tonight was supposed to be a night that we gathered for our Lenten study, and we won't be able to do that because of the world that we live in. But the baptism bag, the thing that I was going to make with all of you, is something that I would suggest that we can still do. That we can still believe that we can offer hope and a smile to people. And I was going to make baptism bags with you tonight where we put in some things that we wanted to drown and pull them out later and saw how God has worked in those things and reflected on them. But instead, the baptism bag that we make, I hope that it can be not just like a tune, but can also be something that people can use, and it would be hopeful. So instead of a baptismal bag for ourselves, I'm thinking of a bag or an envelope or something that we can bury a hope in, or something for a neighbor or someone in our family that might bring a smile to their face. For example, the baptism bag that I've made here has something in it, and maybe this is the most important thing for the days that we live in. And maybe it could be dropped into this bag and be set in a hopeful way to say that we're not just the thing that scares us, but we're also hopeful that God is going to protect and keep all of us, and that we've already been baptized and drowned to the things that bother us and consume us, and that we're choosing to try to live in hope and with a smile to the best of our ability today. So we talked about the tomb that we buried things in and the stuff that stinks and how that's always with us. We've talked about Luther and our baptism, but maybe too we can think about how we share this baptism with our friends and family. Maybe we go on a quick ride in the car and give them a baptismal bag that has a candy bar in it that they would enjoy, or in this case, something that apparently is a dire emergency. And maybe that can bring a smile to people's face, and together we can be a people who focus on our baptismal promise of hope and not just on the stuff that stinks.